I want to ask you about the Women Against State Pension Equality and the government's decision not to give compensation to what are known as WASPI women. And if I may, it's our first opportunity to speak to you. Since that decision was made, I'm going to look back at a tweet that you made in July of 2017. And I'll just read this out so people understand your position then. You said, "Proud to support the WASPI campaign women. I'll continue to campaign for these women to get the retirement they deserve." Now, people will be aware that you sit now on a cabinet which has made a decision not to give any compensation to those women. Why are you taking a different position now than you did then?
So that was 7 years ago, Charlie. A lot has changed in the world since then. When we issued our manifesto at this general election, we didn't make a promise to the WASPI women to provide compensation because we were concerned at that stage about what the financial inheritance might be from the previous Conservative government. And I remember sat in my campaign office in Swindon this time round with representatives from the local pensioners forum who were asking me whether I could give them a commitment to providing compensation. And I said to them back in June time that I couldn't. And it was quite a difficult conversation, but I was honest that at that stage I didn't know what the financial inheritance of this government was going to be. So these are hard decisions, and the Chancellor made the right decision, in my view, in the budget to invest in public services. We are committed to the triple lock on pensions.
I'm going to interrupt you there, Heidi Alexander, because I think people understand what you're going on to say, and they may have heard that before about the inheritance you took. But it's a big deal about trust, isn't it, in politicians? And we're being told a lot that your government wants to have a different position on that. And people will struggle with the fact that you gave every appearance of being committed for the long term to this campaign, which you appeared to believe in, but that you now have put, not on the back burner, you've said there will be no money. And this is a very real thing. You can have a tough decision, but I suspect that those women who thought they may be entitled to that money when you came to power will be facing some tough decisions themselves, and those will be very brutal financial decisions because they will have less money. So this is not comfortable, is it? How do you account for your change of mind?
So, Charlie, as I said, I was very honest with my constituents who emailed me and came in to meet with me in advance of this election about the state of the public finances. Let's not forget, Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng tanked the economy a couple of years ago, and we are having to pick up the pieces of that. Now, when Rachel and the Cabinet rightly decided to invest in public services in the NHS and schools, then you can't spend that money twice over. In our manifesto, we did make a commitment, for example, to providing compensation for victims of the contaminated blood scandal. That costs about £11 billion. The cost of providing compensation to WASPI women, if you provided it to all women who were born in the 1950s, could be up to £10.5 billion. So to govern is to choose, and this is really hard and really difficult because I know that there will be lots of women listening to your show today who feel very disappointed by this. But if we're investing in the NHS to reduce those backlogs for operations and appointments, if we're protecting the triple lock, which will be worth about £500 next year to somebody on a new state pension because it's rising in line with average earnings, we can't spend that money twice over. And so I do recognise these are difficult decisions, and I recognise that people will feel disappointed by that. If we had been bequeathed a different economic inheritance from the previous Conservative government, then we might have been having a different conversation. All I can say to you, Charlie, in terms of trust in politicians, is that when people were emailing me in advance of the election, because there wasn't a manifesto commitment on this, I was honest with them that I didn't know whether we could make that commitment. They asked me to campaign on it in June of this year, and I said, I can't make you that promise because I don't know that the money is going to be there to pay for it. I look back at the emails I sent to people in the election campaign, and I was very clear that the Labour Party couldn't be making promises for things if they didn't know how they were going to be able to fund it. And I think that's one of the fundamental problems that we've got. The previous Conservative government made a huge number of promises.
I don't want to waste the audience's time by talking about the previous Conservative government. You've made your position very clear, and you've given your explanation as to why that position has changed.